None of my beliefs, morally, politically, socially, none of them matter unless I have a fundamental sense of entitlement that I have a right to live, that I have a right to survive. It doesn't really matter what I believe other people should be doing with their time, how people should do with their bodies, who they should sex, who they should love, where they should work, how they should dress. Like none of those things matter unless I have a fundamental sense of entitlement in my right to live and be. And this is how we get to the new series of eclipses in Scorpio and Taurus that harken most immediately back to last year's Jupiter transit through Scorpio. Before we get there fully, though, we're kind of eased into it. Venus enters Taurus on March 27th, and it will remain there until July 31st, 2020. In between those dates, Venus will station retrograde at 27 degrees Taurus and station direct at about 11 degrees Taurus, just like it did in 2012. Taurus is the sign of our cultural behavioral norms. How do you dress, behave, greet, walk, talk? Who do you marry? Where do you work? Based on your class, your gender, your race, your sex, your sex, all of those things are Taurus. We're already seeing what this particular Venus retrograde plus the new eclipses in Scorpio and Taurus are about. The ways that we're changing how we greet each other, the ways that we're changing this whole idea of social distancing. Yes, this is Saturn, but this is also a fundamental shift in what it means to be in relationship and community with each other. I hope you all can appreciate that the changes economically necessitate social changes. The changes because of the threat of illness and death necessitates social changes, right? Look at everyone and having the internet and social media. Immediately we're changing the way that I miss you too. I was looking at your nails trying to figure out if I was going to come get my nails filled because I'm looking raggedy. Look at me. I'm gonna text you, Siomata. Just these social changes. I wanted to do some research, and I've kind of been doing a little research on the ways that the Spanish flu changed culture. One of the most fundamental changes that this moment truly is a consequence of is that the idea of public health really did not exist before the Spanish flu of 1918. I want you to really hear that and understand what that means. There was no public health system. There was no health insurance. Doctors worked for themselves. They were funded by rich families. They were, they had patrons just like artists or musicians, right? They went from door to door. Maybe they had an office, but hospitals, again, were funded by rich families, right? Like if you watch Downton Abbey, that really is about this transition from the 19th to 20th century, right? That can't remember their names right now, but they were this rich family outside of London, and like their money funded the local hospital. And so as a you can even see it in this show, as a consequence of the Spanish flu, right? This idea, thank you, the Crawley family. Because of the Spanish flu, this is real. We have the precursor to the World Health Organization, right? State mandated or funded insurance, right? This is because of the Spanish flu. See, right now we take for granted that there is doctors in China who are noticing a pattern, and there is an organization whose function is to keep track of these things. That's the World Health Organization. Because of the World Health Organization, us in America can actually know that there is a public health crisis or threat because we've all agreed to report these patterns to an organization and for us to be held accountable by this. Doctors who are seeing patterns of care, right? Like right now, you can go look at the New York State Public Health and see how the cases of pneumonia hospitalizations began to increase right at the turn of the year. In January 2020, you can see it start to rise above the baseline expectation of how many flu cases hospitals should be seeing just based on past precedent. And January 1st, you see that thing shift above that baseline, right? We have this because of the Spanish flu. Because of the Spanish flu, we were like, oh, shoot, right? Because back then, people had no idea. They didn't even know what a virus was. They thought it was a bacteria. So when we talk about social changes, we're also talking about social accountability and the ways in which our individual survival is subservient to a collective shared responsibility. I said this yesterday, that survival is not an individual burden. If I do not wash my hands and stay home, I'm putting you at threat. If I do not have access to preventive care and a doctor that won't bankrupt me, I'm putting your health at risk. If I don't have sick paid leave, I'm going to come to work sick, and now your health is at risk. These are the kinds of changes in the social fabric that we are necessarily embarking upon, not because I believe so strongly in human rights, but because if any of us are going to have a chance at survival, we absolutely must. If any of us are going to have a chance at survival. See, this is what people don't understand about Taurus and Scorpio. You know, I get on here and I say this stuff all the time, and I just have to repeat it because I'm so sick of people talking about how Scorpio is so intense and they're sexual and don't look them in the eyes and they're manipulating you and they're like, fuck that shit. Not doing any of those things. And this idea, well, I don't even know what people say about Taurus because it's stupid anyway. Taurus Scorpio is the axis of safe body. What is your survival strategy, right? Every sign actually represents a survival strategy, to be fair. But when it comes to the actual physical body and mental self-defense mechanisms, we're talking about the fixed signs. We're talking about Scorpio as my genetic, biological instinct to survive, which is autonomous. Hey, Miss Mary Pryor, right? My instinct to survive is autonomous, meaning that when I'm an infant, I don't decide when I cry or whether I'm going to cry or not, right? I don't decide that. This is pure instinct. Through thousands of years of human existence, we have been programmed to hear the sound of a baby crying and the milk lets down in our breast. For those of you who breastfeed your children, we are programmed by genetics and time to be irritated at the sound of a baby crying, because the sound of a baby crying means that baby's in need and we're supposed to move and respond to it. You're not in control of that. Now, some people may program or, quote, train their baby not to cry, right? But that's only because you have now shaped your baby's nervous system to understand that if they cry, nobody's coming. So why cry? This is what we all experience, right? That we have this baseline kind of genetic instinct to survive that manifests in a very uniform way when we're babies. But very quickly, our caregivers, right? Very quickly, we're adapted to our environment, right? So the fundamental of this is that we are social creatures and our survival depends on our capacity to be social in a way that is going to garner the positive attention of other people. I'm going to say that again. We are social creatures and our survival is dependent upon our ability to garner positive attention from other people, first our caregivers. This is Scorpio and Taurus. I know this is not what y'all read on Cafe Astrology or what your little pattern app or co-star tells you. I know it's not. I know it's not what your Twitter faves tell you. I know they're reading you and telling you whatever this is about you. But this is Scorpio and Taurus, and you can argue with me later after we get through these eclipses. Right? After we get through these eclipses, you can argue with me and tell me what you think Scorpio and Taurus is. But trust me, you can see it already. I don't need to convince you. It's very real that these Taurus and Scorpio eclipses are about the shared burden of survival, the social structures that allow us to share this burden. Y'all getting the good right now because I haven't even written this stuff down. I mean, I kind of did write it down somewhere and it's going to be in my eclipse guide, but y'all getting the goods right now, right? Our shared burden of survival means that the idea that I can get sick and be sent a bill for the care that I've been given, and that bill can threaten to bankrupt me and my family, now means that if I get sick, I'm probably not going to go to the doctor because I can't afford it. If I have an infectious disease, right? If I have infectious disease, now I'm going to spread it to other people because I can't get treatment. There is no way on God's green earth that we are even going to survive beyond this moment if we don't give up that bullshit. Thank you all for all of your encouragement and positive feedback. I really appreciate it. I really do. Those who know me personally know that my personal life be real trash. As I'm coming on here talking about what's going on, my life is not immune to it. And so coming and talking to you guys really is like my balm in Gilead, and knowing that I do have something valuable to offer. So I really appreciate it. I don't take it lightly. Thank you. So if we just chart a little timeline here, right? Venus enters Taurus on March 27th, right? So from then it's a really game on, right? This is really game on about how are we transforming our social fabric to accommodate the nascent, but also just like chronic threats to our survival as humans, right? That's the real question here, right? I mean, even this idea of social distance and flatten the curve, social distance and flatten the curve. If I translate this into astrological language, this is saying your survival and well-being is a shared burden. And if you do your part, we will all have a better chance of survival. Right? Right? Now, what's the caveat here? Where's the complication? Because this sounds so logical and so cool and so like, yeah, duh, of course I can't wait. Like, yes. Right? If you've been following me for a while and you know about my Gemini and Sagittarius eclipse guide, it was called the 2019 eclipse guide. It really should have been called the Gemini Sagittarius eclipse guide because the eclipses were more than just in 2019, but you get my point. You'll know that once we get an eclipses in a certain pair of signs, the other two signs in that modality automatically become ripe and relevant. So we're talking about fixed signs here. And the other two signs here that are relevant are Aquarius and Leo, right? Now, right? Part of the idea of squares is about the complex nature of human needs and the hierarchies that exist within them, right? Each square in fixed signs, each sign overcomes the next sign, right? So Leo overcomes Scorpio. Scorpio, LOL, when afresh. Scorpio overcomes Aquarius. Aquarius overcomes Taurus. Now you can see this with any of the three modalities, that you get these elemental relationships where fire overcomes water, water overcomes air, air overcomes earth, right? Those are the way the squares goes. Leo fire overcomes Scorpio water. Aries fire overcomes Cancer water, right? You see what I'm saying? So even though we just have eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio, the Leo Aquarius axis is offering the complete narrative. So if it's Leo that overcomes Scorpio, it's our capacity to consciously override, or so we think, our autonomous instinct, right? Leo Scorpio square means, how does your conscious awareness allow you to override, for good or ill, your autonomous survival instinct? How do leaders and authority figures and their power over you program and override your natural instinct to preserve your own body, right? That's really relevant when it comes to I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to leave that size. That's going to be a caveat. I ain't got time to really go down. Okay. Then we get to Scorpio overcoming Aquarius, right? Again, Scorpio, autonomous instinct to survive, overcoming, overriding, subduing our capacity to conceptualize and dissociate from our physical bodies. That was real deep, right? That Scorpio Aquarius square is like, okay, so my body says danger, 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 flight, fight, freeze. My mind says that's a really interesting decapitated, or that's a really interesting foot hanging off my body over there. I wonder how that happened. Wow, do you see my veins and my blood vessels and my arteries just dangling there? Look at all that blood, right? Because we are not embodying the pain and the reality of harm that we experience. We're dissociating from it and we're conceptualizing it. Now, this is important because it allows us to create a consensus around what is pain, what is harm, what is danger. And again, if our survival is a shared burden, we need to be able to conceptualize a shared threat, right? But also, this is a two-way street here, because Scorpio can be like, okay, danger, 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 fight, flight, freeze, right? And because of Aquarius, we can just be like, danger? I gotta look that up in the dictionary. What does that even mean? Harm? Ouch? Have no reference point. Don't know what that means, right? Completely just dissociating from our physical body. But if it were not for Scorpio being in the upper hand to Aquarius, we'd just kill ourselves, right? We'd not have the instinct to run from pain and harm. That's why Scorpio is so important. That's why these eclipses in Scorpio and Taurus are so important, because we have for far too long completely dissociated from the collective trauma and threats to our survival that are very real and pressing dangers to us, right? Let me do the last two. Aquarius overcoming Earth. This is important because this is where the ingenuity comes. This is where the ability to perceive a certain reality but conceptualize a different one comes. This is where we're able to overcome for granted given ways of being and dreaming up new ways, conceptualizing, finding language for new ways of being. Again, so important, because if I just maintain the social status quo in this moment, collapse. You see it happening right now, right? So this is so deep because this whole thing really emerged as a global threat at the onset of this Mercury retrograde in Aquarius, right? Being able to conceptualize things actually allows us to prepare, right? But see, the problem is that many of us don't have the capacity to conceptualize a threat. We need to feel it. We need to feel the threat real. We need to see it face to face. And that's really a problem, because the opportunity to prepare, we miss it, right? We need all of these signs. We need all of them. Lastly, Taurus overrides Leo. This is so important when we look at any of the squares where Earth overcomes fire. So Capricorn overcomes Aries and Virgo overcomes Sagittarius, right? This is where our physical lived reality forces us to contextualize and manage the expectations of our will. For Taurus and Leo, this is about the social expectations required for survival and how our own perceptions might come into conflict with that, right? For example, if I think something's funny and nobody else is laughing, will I laugh? And what are the consequences of me laughing? If I hurt myself and no one else thinks that it hurts, do I feel pain? If I feel pain, will I express that? If someone hurts my feelings and no one validates my hurt feelings, will I perform those hurt feelings? Right? This is that Leo Taurus, that I can have an sense of entitlement around leadership, around the authority of my own perceptions and way of seeing things. But if they're not socially validated, what are the chances that I'm really gonna do with that? Now, if I got something in Aries, right, undermining that Taurus, but trying that Leo, I'm more likely to be like, I don't really care what y'all think. I'm gonna do what I do because I can do what I do. And we're gonna get a taste of that, right? We're gonna get a taste of that over the coming months. So let me give you all some dates, and then I'm gonna go because I'm hungry. These are our dates. Today is March 20th. Our transition period into our next kind of underlying story and phase is now through April. Hold on. I'm going to tell y'all real quick. Give me just a second. Thanks for being so patient. Right now, March 20th through March 31st. Right? That gets us over this hump and this wave. Then March 31st through April. April is just like a whole thing in and of itself. And I really just got to look and see, right? Okay. Let's see. So April is starting our 4-month long Venus transit through Taurus. April is Mercury finally leaving Aquarius for Pisces on the 7th. April is, okay, April is Aries, Capricorn square. So I just kind of alluded to this, right? When we talk about Earth overcoming fire, it means that our will is shaped by reality. For Aries and Capricorn, this is our physical will and capabilities shaped by real physical limits in the world. The Aries Capricorn square is like, can you? Shall you? Do you possess the ability to? Sure, that's great. You can do it. You're able to do it. You have the will to do it. But what does the world outside of you provide you with, withhold from you, or put in your way between you and actually doing it? Right? Now, the more resolved of us are strategizing. The more resolved of us get our weight up. We see the limits and we don't say that's too heavy. We say, I just need to do some more reps and work up to being able to do it. Sometimes it means I'm not even gonna mess with that. I'm good. Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. That is a boundary, barrier, limit that I'm not going to deal with because the cost and energy is not worth the effort, right? The outcome is not worth what it's going to cost me in energy. Thank you, Bitty Boss. So that's going to be a big part of April. The end of April, though, this is where my eyes are really set because what is this? And this is the last thing I'm going to say. The last thing I'm going to say because I got to go. I've been on here for a long time. The week of May 10th, Saturn, Venus, and Jupiter all station retrograde in Earth signs, right? Week of May 10th. They all retrograde in Earth signs. And I'm going to get back to that, Nikki, because I don't know that I really understand what your question means. Can you think about it a little bit more and ask me again? Because I don't know what you mean by hierarchy for squares. I think I know what you mean, but I don't want to assume. So this last week of April, the end of April, closer we get to that second week in May, the real loud background sound is Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn, all slow as heck, changing direction at the same time. So I want you to think of these. I'm going to talk about this more when we get there, but I just want you to envision this for a little bit. Imagine you driving down the street, right? You driving down the street, and the closer you get to a certain street, you start to see, actually, I don't even really got to give a actual thing because this has happened, right? You're driving down expressway and you see all of these people like getting off at one exit and people are like making U-turns on the wrong side of the street trying to go back and get off at this exit. And you like, what's going on up here? Why is everybody stopping and turning around and trying to go a different direction? Like, why is the flow of traffic completely disrupted? It's keeping me from getting to my destination. This is what a stationary retrograde is. It is a disruption in the flow of traffic where people are stopping, turning around, and going the other direction. Now, granted, eventually whatever's happening is going to clear up and the flow of traffic will resume. But right now, nope, it's not happening, right? In our little story here that's talking about the planet stationing retrograde the second week of May, everybody's stopping, turning around, and going in a different direction, right? What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that mean? It's like, dang, I was just trying to get to Harold's Chicken, but now I can't even get to Harold's Chicken because the traffic is jacked up. It's an accident and the streets are blocked off and I can't even get there. So now I got to turn around. And by the time I actually get there, taking this detour, Harold's Chicken is going to be closed. So do I even want Harold's Chicken anymore? Am I going to wait till tomorrow to get it? Or am I going to get something else because I'm hungry? Right? This is what retrogrades do. They have you right? Like they have you totally reassessing, like if you're even gonna go to where it was you were trying to get to, because now your whole time is messed up because you had allotted a certain amount of time to get to the place because they closed, but now traffic's all jacked up. Now you got like, dang, do I even got a taste for that anymore? Like where I'm gonna go, what I'm gonna do, right? You see what I'm saying? So Right? I know, right? So this is what retrogrades are. And when three planets are stationary retrograde at the same time, best believe that whatever you think you're doing in May, whatever you think that you're doing at the end of April, like please, like whatever even in your mind right now you have planned that you thought you were gonna do, like just let it go. Right? Just let it go. Like just know that stationary retrograde planets disrupt the flow of traffic in your life, right? You got all these different lanes. You got your work lane, your career lane, you got your physical health lane, you got your friendship lane, you got your hobbies lane, you got your spiritual path lane, you got your love romantic lane, and you're getting all your little ducks in a row, and you're like, oh, yep, we're gonna do this and we're gonna go there. And I'm telling all of my business. I'm probably talking about myself right now, but y'all feel me, it's okay, right? And like, oh, we're gonna do this and then we're gonna do that. And then, like, yo, I'm most certain that Saturn spends probably a month at 7 degrees of Capricorn chilling out, right? Let me just get this straight. I'm gonna tell y'all real quick. Doo-doo-doo. Right. Okay. Saturn reaches 7 degrees Capricorn on April 9th. Saturn does not leave 7 degrees Capricorn until June the 11th. Right? Right? So I need you to understand the deeper implications of this is that the changes that are happening collectively and personally right now are lightweight beginning. Ooh, we just gonna switch a little stuff around because it's gonna be over in 2 weeks and then we'll be fine. And that's really not what's happening. Right? That's really not what's happening. This is not like, oh man, the kids just gonna be out of school for 2 weeks, so we just gotta do this little homeschool thing for 2 weeks. So I'm gonna just be working from home for about 3 weeks. So then when I get back, we're gonna have this meeting and we're gonna implement this thing and we're gonna do that thing and then we're gonna start this project. Oh man, we just gonna be, in our social distancing just for a few weeks. So, I can't wait to have my little birthday party in April. Nope. It's not happening. And I need you guys to really understand that this is not happening. For me personally, we're not even going to begin to turn the corner here in America until May, right? Until May, when those planets station retrograde. Do you know, like, you ever heard a loud sound that was so loud that you felt it in your body and it made everything else go silent, right? Right? Or like, right, like a couple weeks ago, I'm sitting in at my nail tech's nail studio, and we had stopped talking for a minute, and next thing you know, the second hand on the clock is just getting louder and louder and louder, like somebody is turning up the volume on the clock. Nobody turned up the volume on the clock. It's just that in the absence of so many other complicating factors, this other thing emerges and then you really hear what's going on, like you're plugged into it. So I want you guys, I started off talking about time, I'm ending talking about time. I tried to save that previous video. I think I saved it. I don't really know where to put these. I guess I could put them on YouTube. That our relationship to time is changing. I started off this video in the first part that got messed up talking about how time is a consensus and how we live as though we do not own our time. And even in this moment when many of us are working from home, we are still behaving as if our time is not our own. And we don't even know what to do. So we just try to implement schedules and routines as if we're still at work. And this is just not really, I mean, it's cool right now. Do it. It's cool right now. But I just want you all to really try to conceptualize and wrap your mind around longer term implications of this moment. And the fact that for most of us, we're not going back to normal. with that being said, I'm going to go because I'm hungry and Netflix is calling my name. I might do a Q&A at some point. Next week, I have a lot of calls. Speaking of which, March 24th is the last day that you can use my 3 discount codes for your reading. 10% off 30-minute readings, 15% off 60-minute readings, and 20% off 90-minute readings. Go to thepeoplesoracle.com and click book a reading. And the codes are in my Instagram page. I'll share it to my story, and it's my profile picture on Twitter. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that you all are taking care of yourselves. I hope that if you have the means, you're looking out for your family members and people in your community who cannot take care of themselves. I hope that you are fully embracing your right to live and survive, and your life matters, and you're not just a number, and your survival is tied up into the survival of everyone around you. I hope you remember that survival is a shared burden, not an individual responsibility. I'm going to say that again. Survival is a shared burden, not an individual responsibility. I hope that you take that truth and embrace it as a sense of entitlement that forces you to change the way that you act and behave and treat other people. What does your life look like if you recognize that your survival is not an individual burden, no matter what these hoes be trying to tell you? Your survival is not solely your responsibility. So how does your life change? How does this world change with that in mind? See you guys. Bye.